Let's stand.
Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Legislator Hathaway.
Here.
Legislator Verkler. Here. Legislator Burns has been excused. Legislator Gilbert.
Here.
Legislator Chartrand.
Here.
Legislator Morahan.
Here.
Legislator Kalzer.
Here.
Legislator Osborne.
Here.
Legislator King.
Here.
And Legislator Dahlhoff.
Here. Please stand for the pledge. The pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The April 6, 2021 board meetings have been distributed. If there are no amendments, they stand approved. Report of the Finance and Rules Committee per Rule 6. Cassandra, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Rules Committee has met and they recommend to waive rules to act upon late resolutions.
Need a motion? Jerry, second by Andrea. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Privilege of the floor. Is there anyone here tonight that would like privilege of the floor? Crystal?
I would just like to introduce to everybody Olivia Baker. Olivia is a junior at Lowville Academy, and she's joining us tonight for our board meeting. She's been taking a course on government. She looks really thrilled with me right now on government through cooperative extension. So I'm very glad she's here with us tonight. Hi, everyone.
Nice to see you here. Anyone else? We'll move on to presentations of petitions, communications, and notices, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A resolution was received from Essex County opposing legislative agenda of certain Adirondack environmental groups seeking to decouple broadband and cellular expansion coverage in Essex County and the state. 2 resolutions were received from the Inter-County Legislative Committee of the Adirondacks. The first is urging the governor and federal government to expand broadband and rural cellular coverage to all New Yorkers. The second is encouraging the formation of the North Country Broadband Alliance for the purposes of achieving access to greater than or equal to 100 megabits per second broadband speed for 100% of all households and businesses at the Adirondack counties. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Reports of county officers and departments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Legislators received the April 2021 Treasurer's Report, Highway and Solid Waste April Audit Reports, and the following apportionment of mortgage tax report totaling $256,507.80 for the period of October 1st, 2020 through March 31st, 2021. Highway Superintendent Timothy Hunt submitted an official order to change several yield signs throughout the county to stop signs in order to bring the existing intersections up to the site distance requirements. And Brian Mooney submitted the March 2021 Sealer of Weights and Measures activity reports, which have been placed on file with the clerk of the board. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Reports of standing committees. Tom, would you like to start with Finance and Rules, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got 2 motions to make. I'd like to start off with a motion. I'll make the motion to authorize County Clerk Jake Moser to refill 1 full-time deputy clerk position due to impending retirement.
Moved by Tom, second by Dick. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
And second, I'd like to make a motion to authorize Human Resource Director Caitlin Smith and Community Services Director Patricia Freilich to refill 1 full-time administrative assistant position effective immediately.
Moved by Tom, second by Andrea. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Tom?
Thank you, Tom. We'll move on to Jerry with General Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 3 motions. I'm making the first one, motion to authorize Highway Superintendent Timothy Hunt to go out to bid for a plow truck utilizing New York State Office General Service mini bid process. And that's the first motion.
Moved by Jerry, second by Tom. Any discussion?
Jerry, this is in that plan that we have for replacement and rotating the vehicles, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Second motion is to, excuse me, authorize Planning Department Director Cassandra Buell to put out an RFP for Lewis County Public Transportation van pool services.
Moved by Jerry, second by Lisa. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
And the third motion is a motion to authorize Planning Director Cassandra Buell to put out an RFP for Lewis County Public Transportation operating contract.
Moved by Jerry, second by Greg. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
That's all I have at this time, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Any questions for Jerry? Thank you, Jerry. We'll move on to Andrea with Health and Human Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I would like to say that May is Mental Health Month, and Cassandra will be doing some reading tonight. Also, I would like to wish Tina Stanford a happy retirement. I believe Friday will be her last day, and there'll be a little get-together, I believe, that day. I just wish her the very best. She has done a lot for this community, a lot for our senior citizens. And I just want to thank her for all she's done. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions for Andrea? If not, we'll move on to Dick, the board's rep on the hospital board.
Thank you, Chairman. We had an in-person meeting last time, so I've got a little bit more tonight than usual. So first off, we congratulated Allie Carpenter, ultrasound technologist, as Employee of the Month for February, and we'll be getting back to where we're only 1 month behind starting next month. Then we have a topic called generative discussion, where we bring up a topic that should be talked about and discussed amongst everybody, not necessarily for a vote, but for information sharing. And under that topic, we talked about mandatory COVID vaccine, mandatory shots, evacuation for the employees and stuff. Jerry shared a couple of articles with us. One talked about irrational COVID fears. The other one talked about mandating vaccination should depend on company culture. We also learned that I don't believe there's too many places in New York State right now that are doing it. The purpose of the discussion was we are less than 60% vaccinated with the employees at the hospital. If they get COVID and spread it, the quarantine, you lose your workforce, or the effectiveness of your workforce, quite a bit. I think the overall discussion that we had is we understand the reason for the discussion. We'll probably look at this a little longer, but I don't think we wanted to be the leading institution in New York State to do this, but some are going to be doing it. So just so you're aware that it's being talked about. And I'm sure Jerry would appreciate any input that any of us may have to pro or con on it. Our vaccination rate is 41% as of Monday, April 26th, and 60% of the hospital is vaccinated against coronavirus. But we aren't, they aren't coming in. We had a discussion a little while ago. The ones that want to get vaccinated have gotten vaccinated. The ones that don't want to get vaccinated haven't and aren't really showing up. We got to do something different to get the knowledge out there so that they can make an informed decision on whether they get vaccinated or not. And it is definitely a personal decision, but it can impact each other, so you got to look at all of that. sake for that. Under finance, we had a gain of $102,548 versus a budgeted gain of $990,000. The difference there, again, this COVID is a lot more expensive on a lot of things that we're doing. We've got a lot more labor on overtime and what have you, so we didn't have that planned in the budget. So the 990 was when the hospital was operating as normal and doing all the procedures that they could do. We had a 2020 audit. Robert Smith from Charles Falls Chambers presented the audit. They found 199,901 gains, so that's pretty close to within what we were keeping all year. There were no findings of errors or problems with the audit. We hired a new infection preventionist for the acute side of the hospital, and we're recruiting continues for a second infection preventionist for the nursing home. We had we made an offer, but it was not accepted, so we're continuing to research that. The Copenhagen Health Center update, that's moving along well. There's going to be a pre-survey walkthrough of the building. It's been scheduled for May 5th, and that'll be followed by final inspection by DOH on May 10th. The building is technically ready to go, and we don't anticipate any problems with that. We have a provider. Her name is Julie Emery. She's a nurse practitioner. She's begun orientation at the hospital and will be ready to go. The grand opening will be scheduled sometime in mid-May. Okay. That concludes my report, but I'd like to turn the floor over to Mr. Kayer now, our hospital CEO. He's got a couple of issues he'd like to address.
Thank you. We've introduced values to our vision and mission statement. A couple of years ago, we began a strategic planning process, which has influenced goal setting each of the last 2 years. Prior to that process, we, meaning the board, the management team, and some feedback from the workforce, went through a vision and mission process. And our vision is a grand vision. Our vision is that Lewis County is the healthiest county in New York State. And once we achieve that goal, to be the healthiest county in the country, in America. And every so often I get poked in the ribs on that, thinking, like I've gone a little flighty. But I'm a firm believer, you set the goal high and you achieve it. And you work your way towards that goal, that vision and that mission in each and every day. An important part of achieving vision and mission is, continually enhancing the culture. And so culture is an interesting dynamic. When something doesn't go right, it's blamed on culture. When something goes well, it's because of culture. And culture is a very dynamic process. And I think the key with culture is the capacity to keep moving forward and continue to focus on the things that, that support vision, mission, and strategic plan. So at the end of the day, values will define our culture, and if we do that well, it'll strengthen our ability to take care of the patients and the residents who visit us every single day. So our values are defined by a single word. It's called I, the letter I, care, C-A-R-E. What that stands for is integrity, compassion, accountability, respect, and excellence. A team got together the end of last year to really start teasing through what are the key words or key values that we would want to use to describe our culture. And if our culture hasn't achieved those things, now we have the goal in front of us. And that team was made up of people you probably know and have heard of: Michelle Prince, Jessica Skiff, Christina Flint, Marcy Teal, Randy Lehman, and Gail Grunert. And then we went through a process where there were some interactions where we got feedback from a number of different groups, employees, and settled on defining each of those words. So I care represents integrity, compassion, accountability, respect, and excellence. And these are what these words mean in the culture that we're trying to aspire to. Integrity, do the right thing even when no one is watching. Now, that almost feels a little hokey, but it is so pragmatic and really reflects what should be. Compassion, show kindness, caring, and a willingness to help others. And if there's anything we've learned over the last several years is we could use a little more compassion in our world. Accountability, be accountable for actions, performance, and behavior. And adult learners, adult employees sometimes struggle with that word, but if you can create a fair and just culture, you can work through that and you can elevate the bar. Respect, appreciate the feelings, rights, wishes, and traditions of others. And I think over the last several years, we have really learned why that word is important. And excellence, approach every challenge with the determination to exceed the expectations. And that flows nicely to where I started about vision. And that is, our vision is to be the healthiest county in New York State and in America. So, building vision, mission, and culture don't happen in 1 month, 1 quarter, 1 year. It's a continual process. So, with the support of the board, with the support of the Board of Legislators, we're trying to do these things. And hopefully in the not too distant future, an important part of our culture will be enhanced if the CON is approved. And so it all comes together full circle. That would be my report, unless you have questions.
Any questions for Jerry? Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
That concludes the report.
Thank you, Dick. Before we move on to the county manager report, last month I was charged with forming a committee, ad hoc committee on broadband. So we have accomplished that, and I will read the names of those participants. Eric Verkler, Adam Zaire, Dave Wolf from Dank, Michelle Capone from Dank, Cassie Buell from the county, Ryan Pache, Ian Gilbert, legislator, Greg Kulzer, legislator, and myself. And we will be looking to try to have the first meeting on either the 17th, 19th, or the 20th of this month at 1 o'clock, whenever it works for most of us. So with that, I will turn it over to the county manager, Ryan, for his report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we continue to focus on the pandemic. Our positivity rate, continues to hover in a good spot. We were up a little bit the last couple of weeks, but for the most part, we're certainly down from the larger peak that we experienced after the holidays. So that's certainly good. Vaccination really right now is the important thing that we're working on. We have issued 9,123 first dose vaccinations, so we are certainly chipping away. We think there's about 20,000 people eligible in Lewis County once you factor in 18 and above, and 16 and above, and try to take out some of the military folks. So we're certainly getting there. 7,928 people are fully vaccinated at this point, so we're making some progress. However, we're still kind of hovering around a little less than 50% of the eligible population, so we absolutely have room for improvement. Clinics this week will be Friday from 9 to 11 a.m. at the Lowville Fire Hall. We are, I was talking with Jerry earlier, we are rotating the timing and the location of our clinics. We have been at this point out to almost every corner of Lewis County. We've been up to Diana, we've been down to Port Leiden, we've been out to Osceola, Copenhagen, Lyons Falls, New Bremen, Glenfield. We've really ran the gamut, tried to meet people where they're at. We've also rotated times, tried to do some in the afternoon, some in the morning, some in the evening. I think it's safe to say that folks who wanted to get vaccinated at this point have had the opportunity to do so. Now it's more of an effort to kind of put the full court press on and start to get some of the folks that are a little more hesitant through the door. To that effort, we have a clinic. We will be at the schools. Our plan is to go to each of the 5 schools in Lewis County over the next week or so. Students age 16 through 18 are able to get the Pfizer vaccine. That's the only brand of vaccine right now that's approved for 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. So we will be going to the schools themselves, and the schools are going to give the students time to go get vaccinated. So we think that'll work quite well. And then the fairgrounds, we have an opportunity. The fair board is meeting right now, so I don't want to be too premature, but the fair is going to be July 20th, okay? So we have 2 months before the fair. Recognizing how important that is in our community and how important it is to keep the fair safe, we would like to do some drive-through clinics at the fairgrounds the month and 2 months before the fair. So that would be the week of May 20th, it would be 2 months before the fair. The plan that we're trying to put together is a drive-through clinic at the fair, and we're getting some help from Michelle Ledoux's team. We're gonna maybe do some dairy giveaways. We're gonna have some fair tchotchkes, like cups and t-shirts, and just try to take advantage of, you know, if you love the fair and you wanna go in July, and you wanna be safe in July, you should come to our drive-through clinic and get vaccinated before you go to the fair. So we're looking to run that, and like I said, the fair board has not approved that, but you know, we've had some preliminary meetings with them. Joe Austin and a couple members of our public health team are at the fair board right now talking with their folks. But an exciting opportunity, and we know people in Lewis County really love the fair. So if they love the fair and they want to be safe at the fair, then you know, come visit us and make sure you get your shot before this summer. So we're working on that initiative as well. Another initiative that Larry and I and Ashley have been talking about, we want to work with the Chamber of Commerce, is the idea of some type of reward program with local businesses. So Erie County did a shot and a beer, where you get you know, a ticket for a drink after you get your shot. Another idea that Andrea came up with was a shot and an ice drink, which I think is a great idea as well. So we're going to be working with the Chamber of Commerce and see what businesses would be open to. If you know, you get your shot, you get a ticket, okay, and then you take that ticket to a local business. They keep track of how many people come through, and then you know, send the bill you know, through the chamber rather than us getting, you know, 75 invoices from different businesses. So we're working on some things. We're still open to ideas. You know, you guys had the great idea with the video series. We're 3 weeks into 5 weeks of that video series, so we have 2 more videos left. We've got one coming up next week with Dr. Palmer and Dr. Leindecker that I've previewed. That's going to be really good. And then the final video will be the following week, which will feature Joe Bush, which I think is going to be probably our best, most convincing video of all. So we are definitely putting resources towards the effort. But we're absolutely open to more ideas and thoughts that folks might have on how to push this initiative forward. Let's see. Oh, last thing on vaccinations. During the pandemic, when things were kind of getting a little crazy, we recognized the importance of the faith community in Lewis County, and we did a couple calls with pastors from, you know, interfaith throughout the whole county. We'd like to set one of those up for later this week or next week. Obviously, the legislators would be welcome to join like we did in the past and kind of talk to them. Our goal would be to have a couple doctors on the line that can answer some questions. And if we could get some of these churches maybe to put out some handouts in their missalettes, or perhaps even show some of the videos that we've produced before their services, or maybe after during, you know, fellowship time. You know, just as a way to reach people in the community. So that's what we've got going on with vaccinations. Stimulus, we are still waiting for the United States Treasury Department to release funds and tell us how that whole process is going to go. There's been a lot of speculation about how it's going to go and how you need to, access those funds. But I personally have a lot of faith in NISAC and some of our partners in Albany. I think once it's released, we're not going to miss the boat. we'll be on there. So, but that hasn't happened yet. We're still kind of waiting on that. Capital projects, just a quick update. The solid waste project that we're doing with the new tipping floor, that is moving forward. The contract is signed with CNS. They're moving along. I will give everybody forewarning. Larry and Jerry and I were on a conference call with the contractor and the engineer last week. Prices continue to go up, and that's something that we're all experiencing. These contractors are already feeling squeezed, so we're going to do our best to stiff arm any change orders, but it's not to say that we couldn't see some. So just be on the lookout, and we're still significantly at this point under budget. We set a budget for that project of 1.8 million. The bids came in around 1.3, so we're going to be all right, but we are on the lookout for that. The building renovation project, we're working with CNS engineers on that project. They've completed their hazardous material studies on both sites, the DSS site and the highway site. We are doing borings up at Highway over the next couple weeks. We had to wait for all the snow to melt before we could get in and do the borings and some over other topographical surveys that they're doing. The good news is the final report should be done ahead of schedule. So their contract says they have to have the final report to us by June 24th. We are looking at perhaps having it available to you guys ahead of the June 1st meeting and having CNS here to take questions. So either the June 1st meeting or the June 14th committee meeting, that I guess whatever that date is in June, we'll have CNS here to take questions, and then then we're off the races. We got to decide what happens next and how we move forward. Last thing, on capital projects, the PSB boiler project, the bid opening for that is Thursday. Last item from me, we had to skip the Community Cup last year for obvious reasons, but it is back in 2021. Our county employees kind of headed this effort up back in 2017 or 18 was the first Community Cup. Chris Bolio kind of brought it to life, and Caitlin and Anna Klotz have kind of grabbed the reins and are keeping it going. We have 8 teams registered already. One from the hospital, one from DSS, OFA and Public Health have combined for a team, and the school district. So we've got 8 teams, which is great. But in the past, we have not, maybe legislators weren't invited, but I want to make sure it's very clear. You guys are more than welcome to compete with us in the courthouse team, or you can join the DSS team or the OFA team, I guess. But we'd like to have you on the courthouse team. We have chipping and putting for golf. We have bowling, trivia, kickball, home run derby, and this year we're not doing a tug of war because of the COVID and putting everybody together in the same space. So we're going to do an obstacle course, which I think is going to be maybe even more exciting than the tug of war. So.
I can see Jerry doing kickball, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Should be a good kick.
I've seen him kick some things. So anyway, if you want to sign up, see Caitlin, and your families are more than welcome as well. So that will be the week of June 1st through June 5th is the Community Cup. So that will conclude my report.
One question, the vaccination clinics, are they accepting walk-ins?
Yes, every clinic from now on is a walk-in clinic, yes.
Okay, any other questions for Ryan Dick?
Ryan, we had the project for the scale house transfer, and we rejected the bids, is my understanding.
Yep.
Can you give us an update on what's going on there?
Yep, not much of an update. We rejected the bids. We've got some ideas of how we want to go forward. My idea would be to kind of piecemeal it out a little bit. So we've got to pour a pad, concrete pad. We could do that. We've got to bring some conduit over from one of the other buildings. We can do that in-house. But eventually we've got to, have the structure. I'm thinking about an unfinished modular, something like that. But you'd have to bid that out, so it's gonna be more than $20,000. So how do we bid out exactly the specs that we want on an unfinished modular? You know, that's not something that we're used to doing. So we've got to circle back with our engineers and figure out kind of how we put the bid documents together for something like that. But there's been several ideas that we've had. Dick and I, we talked about almost like a prefab, like Purcell type building that is kind of unfinished on the inside. Everything we've been looking at is unfinished on the inside and letting our crews kind of chip away. The good news is our folks have office space, so we don't need this right away. But in order to finish that project the way we had envisioned, we're going to want to get that scale house done eventually. But we haven't done a whole lot of work on it, to be honest. So
We're still thinking the end of this year we'd at least have some or partial, okay.
I don't know. I was thinking, that's where it'd be great, if you guys had some input. My thought was let things calm down a little bit with the materials market, do some of the slab and the conduit ourselves, and then kind of see where we are after that. We also have to put in a septic tank, so that's something we could start chunking it out in little quotes without having to bid the whole thing at once, and then maybe see where we're at this fall is what I was thinking. But if you guys want to be more aggressive and get this done, I'd say let's continue to push. Like I said, we're under budget by several $100,000 so far. So if we want to do more this year, we can. So I'm open to ideas. I know Kip is too. So.
Yeah, Larry probably knows this better than I do, but I'm started doing a little work on the side for my daughter. Prices, the people that I'm talking with, they're talking 18 months to 2 years before they see this coming back down. So that we may have to bite the bullet and spend a little more than we really want to, but I don't think we want to wait 2 years.
No.
And it is getting crazy. The prices, for what I'm doing, the price isn't bad. It's finding the darn material. They're just not putting a lot of stock in their backup because price changes all the time. Mm-hmm. So they can get a lot of money stuck in there. But thanks for the update on it.
Just for perspective, 2018 lumber futures, Random Length lumber futures closed at $440 a thousand. 2 weeks ago they closed at $1,300. And in 2018 it was a hurricane, I believe, and everybody thought that was insane.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, County Treasurer report here.
Yes, thank you. I provided a written report in your packets, just a couple items I would highlight. Sales tax, if you looked at those numbers, we are ahead of our projections for sales tax, so that's great at this point in the year. Through one quarter, we're about a little over $200,000 ahead of our pace from 2020. So that's a good sign at this point in the year. The other item I would note, I did provide some information for you in there on our year-end closing process and our state annual report that was submitted last Thursday, so we got that completed. And looking forward to wrapping up some final measures related to our audit and year-end reports. Take any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Report of the Finance and Rules Committee for Rule 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Rules Committee reports that they have examined the claims presented for payment in the total amount of $1,404,397.13 and recommend that they be audited and allowed for the amounts claimed.
Need a motion? Bill? Second? Lisa? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Carries. Resolutions. We are going to poll number 84 and number 97. Are there any other resolutions that anyone would like to vote on separately?
Mr. Chairman, could we pull resolution number 89? It's dealing with compensation plan for the DA's office.
Okay. Any others?
Mr. Chairman, we also need to do the late resolution number 118 separately.
Okay. We all set? Could I have a motion to move the slate, please? Okay. I have a second. Ian? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Okay.
All right, the resolution number 84, auditing and allowing claims in the amount of $1,404,397.13.
Moved by Lisa, second by Jerry. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Legislator Chartrand.
Yes.
Legislator Gilbert.
Yes.
Legislator Morahan.
Yes.
Legislator Burns was excused. Legislator Kulzer. Legislator Verkler.
Yes.
Legislator Osborne.
Yes.
Legislator Hathaway.
Yes.
Legislator King.
Yes.
And Legislator Dolhoff.
Yes.
Okay, the next one is resolution number 89, resolution amending compensation plan with reference to the district attorney.
Moved by Lisa, second by Tom. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
There's no my abstention, Mr. Chairman.
And Ian abstains. Motion carries.
Resolution number 97, resolution in opposition to the Climate and Community Investment Act set forth as New York State Senate Bill number S-4264.
Moved by Phil, second by Greg. Just for information, this resolution opposes the state's effort to raise the gas tax to almost $1 a gallon. I think currently it's 46 cents, and this would add an additional 55 cents per gallon for gasoline in the state, and it's billed out as a Climate and Community Investment Act. So, anyone else have any comments on this thing? This bill is in opposition to that effort. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
The last one is resolution number 118, resolution to appropriate funds, public defender.
Moved by Lisa, second by Jerry. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Other business, we have a proclamation for National Foster Care Month.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Proclamation commemorating May as National Foster Care Month. Whereas every child deserves to grow, learn, and dream in a supportive and loving environment. During National Foster Care Month, we recognize the 15,399 young people in foster care in New York State, including 13 Lewis County children and the foster parents and dedicated professionals who are in their lives. We also rededicate every child a sense of stability and a safe place to call home. And whereas, while the number of young people in foster care has fallen, those still there face many challenges, including finding mentors to guide their transition into adulthood and getting the support to make that transition a success. 1/3 of foster children are teenagers in danger of aging out of a system that failed to find them a permanent family. And whereas in Lewis County, 14 homes are answering the call to open their hearts and homes to foster children. From social workers and teachers to family members and friends, countless individuals are doing their part to help these striving young people realize their full potential. And whereas this month and all year long, let us all recognize that each of us has a part to play in ensuring that all foster children achieve their full potential. Together we can reach the day where every child has a safe, loving, and permanent home. Now, therefore, I, Lawrence L. Dolhoff, Chairman of the Lewis County Board of Legislators, do hereby proclaim May 2021 as National Foster Care Month in Lewis County, New York, and I call upon all Americans to observe this month by taking time to help youth in foster care and recognize the commitment of all who touch their lives. The second proclamation is commemorating May as Mental Health Month. Whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas all Americans face challenges in life that can impact their mental health, especially during a pandemic, and whereas prevention is an effective way to reduce the burden of mental health conditions, and whereas there are practical tools that all people can use to improve their mental health and increase resiliency, and whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our nation, and whereas with effective treatment, those individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead full, productive lives. And whereas each business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizens share the burden of mental health problems and has a responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention and treatment efforts. Now, therefore, I, Lawrence L. Dahlhoff, Chairman of the Lewis County Board of Legislators, do hereby proclaim May 2021 as Mental Health Month in Lewis County, New York. I also call upon the citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses and schools in Lewis County to commit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, the steps our citizens can take to protect their mental health, and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Do we have any other business?
Larry, I'd like to bring something up if I could.
Sure.
In the past, we've taken a show on the road, and I enjoyed that myself, particularly going down to the Constable Hall. That was pretty special.
It was all because of the spider.
Well, I enjoyed going through it though, you know, and I think as things ease up, we ought to consider doing that again. And if we can do it again, I would like to go down to West Leiden first, recognize Jerry as retired, and maybe consider Copenhagen or some other places like that. But I think it's a good thing for us to do.
Good idea. I'm not sure.
Did you just say I had a good idea?
No.
Did you get it? I didn't. You got that? No.
It's in the minutes.
So, Mr. Chairman, that would have to be by a resolution to set the meeting at another location. So we'd have to think about that ahead of time and set it in the prior month's resolution if we want to do it after
And
that.
I'm hesitant because I'm not sure what the rules are that go into effect on May 19th and how much it's that's been relaxed.
And I understand that, but I'd like to plant the seed anyway, if the other legislators agree with that.
Well, someplace like the West Leiden Fire Hall has got, I would imagine, what's your capacity, Jerry?
75.
Yeah, so we could easily be at 33% capacity and have enough for all our, 25 folks. Yep.
Okay. Put it on the list, things to do. Do we need an executive session?
No.
Motion to adjourn.
I had one thing.
Oh,
before you
sorry,
did,
Dick.
but yeah. Several years ago, Craig Brennan, Brian Mosier, and myself chaired a committee to look at UTV licensing in New York State. We traveled a little bit, made some visits. We were met with a lot of resistance, I guess is the best way to say it. But the state now seems to want to have a lot of money. You've got the gas tax situation they were talking about. You've got the 12 to 13-year-olds we just approved tonight to hunt and what have you. If we could talk them into for money, which they seem interested in, UTVs will bring them a lot more money than anything else. It'll also bring the county to some semblance of safety again for the people, because these machines, there's some of them as big as Jeeps out there. They cost $28,000 now to get. I can show you some pictures of damage that was done a week ago on some of our trails with a machine that had like, I think 38 or 40-inch tires on it. It looked like a tractor tire. So my point, I guess, is with the ad hoc committees, if we could have you appoint over time, give it some thought, an ad hoc committee to address that a little bit, talk to Jefferson, St. Lawrence County. We went out west and we got the Rochester and Buffalo counties to agree with us. And then, and I'll just say it the way it was, a few of the Democratic lawmakers in Albany called them up and said, you know, we send you money to do things with, and we're kind of against this, so they killed it right there on the spot. But it's a different climate now. If they want to make money, that would make them some money. The other thing I'd like to do, if they don't want to do it that way, they had each of our counties approve the 12 and 13-year-old hunting bill. They made it state law, but then they said the counties can opt in or out of it. So use that same rationale to give us the authority in Lewis County to do our UTVs. So we just wanted to put that up on the table. Thank you.
I could add something on that. Larry and I talked earlier this week about another thing that the board had done in the past is engage with a more or less a lobbying firm out of Albany to kind of, you know, help us navigate the halls of the Capitol and push these issues. I've got some contacts through folks I knew in graduate school and folks that I've met at NISAC that would be willing to work with us on this issue. So maybe that's something we can do is try to engage with a firm like that again and get us into some meetings. And if we do this ATV study, which we're looking to do hopefully this summer, we'll have some real economic impact figures and also some registration figures that might show, you know, what the state's losing out on in terms of registration fees. So that would be good to be armed with, you know, something you maybe you wouldn't have had before, you know, more hard data.
So we just had a incident here, a meeting of UTVs, and I think you reported at our last meeting you took in $10,000 in trail permits just over that one weekend.
Yeah, the month of April we brought in $54,000.
Yeah. So we could use that as a piece of where there's money out there. The sales tax issue is the other thing. If you bring more business into Lewis County, then that means more sales tax for the state and us. But I just thought the committee could wrap all this together.
There are several things going on in the background on that topic. John Jones and I were on a Zoom this morning. The local Fish and Wildlife Board is also trying to put together a meeting with state legislators on some of the more committees that are directly involved in ATV registration, specifically transportation, parks, DEC. So when I get a list of the players, my task is to reach out to Senator Griffo's office and see if we can put something together to get these people in a room and, you know, make them understand with the lack of ability to register here, the sales tax is going. People are buying these UTVs and ATVs out of state. The state's losing the sales tax.
Oh, yeah.
They're registering them out of state because they can't register them here. So, and also, you know, we've been talking also in the county of doing a ATV survey both for the county and regionally, including St. Lawrence and Franklin County, to try to come up with numbers of what the economic impact actually is from this industry, not only to Lewis County, but, you know, as on a regional scope also, so that, you know, it may open some other counties' eyes of what, you know, what might be out there.
That was one thing we found out, that
develop a trail system.
The snowmobile clubs were organized and they were able to get some things through. The ATV clubs don't seem to be that organized, so there'd have to be some of that too. But
You know, the ATV industry has had a much steeper hill to climb than snowmobiles.
Yeah.
Back in the 1970s, when Nelson Rockefeller was governor, the state took all the foot trails that they had and turned them into snowmobile trails without doing a thing to them.
yeah.
And then they claimed 700 or 800 miles of snowmobile trail. You know, none of that has happened. And they've always been supportive of the snowmobile industry. None of that has happened for the ATV industry. So,
Okay.
you know, it's been a much more difficult road than what the snowmobile had to follow. So we are working on it, and hopefully we can make some progress.
Thank you.
Do we have anything else? Motion to adjourn. Dick, second. Greg, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.